Okay, well, welcome everybody to the first meeting of the month for Google Developer Group Gig City. So before we get started anything, just go over some legal things. Google Developer Group Gig City is an inclusive community where developers and entrepreneurs of all skills, genders, religions, and backgrounds are welcome to learn, practice, and share Google technologies, services, and platforms. Our motto is be excellent to each other. So if you see or experience anything different, please contact myself. And we are also part of the greater Chattanooga developer community, or CHADEV for short. And so we basically aggregate a list of different groups and different events related to developers here in Chattanooga. We maintain a subreddit for things. We have a calendar, and we also have a IRC channel. So if you want to know what else is going on around the community, feel free to check out any of those resources. So it was mentioned last month that there's the Android study group that would be taking place in February and March this year, and it'd be a free course. But the way things are going right now, I'm not going to be able to get my certification in time, so I won't actually be able to teach it. But if there's still interest to run through this, we can do it on our own. We just won't have the benefits that Google is going to be providing. So there won't be the discount at the end, so you can take the actual course and get your certification, and there won't be swag or anything. But we could come up with our own final project and do like a app/code review at the very end of it. But that's if there is interest for it. Otherwise, we'll just nix that and try other things. And then also the Learn to Code or Teach Kids to Code that basically we wanted to adopt and try and get that going again. Last year they had a meeting. The group had about 10 or 12 people show up to it, and they went through some basic HTML and stuff, and they really enjoyed themselves. And then there was also the hour of code that was held at the library and things, and that did pretty well. So we just basically want to take those and kind of build onto them and make it an actual regular thing instead of just one-offs. And then right now I'm working on a website for our group. You can see it live at gdggigcity.com. The back end of it is built in Go, but the front end is all HTML, CSS. Right now it's using Bootstrap, but I would love to redo that to where it's using Polymer. So it's all material design and responsive, even more than what Bootstrap allows. So if anyone wants to help out with that project, it's open source on GitHub. So just feel free to fork it and hack on it and do whatever. And our next meeting will actually fall on February 18th. So, which is good because then before I have to go to California next month. And then we were also these booklets, the Google Developer Startup Lunch playbooks, these showed up Monday. And what this is, it's basically a little a 5-step list for people who are wanting to do a startup or already have a startup. And it gives you like basically ideas or walks you through certain general ideas and things you want to already have planned. And it also does a why you should consider Google to empower your startup. So using the Google Cloud and App Engine or Compute Engine or whatever for those things. And so if you know anybody that is wanting to do a startup or running a startup, feel free to take one and give it to them. And then this month, our top topic is on the Google Play Store policies and walk through some basic on getting Android Studio downloaded and set up. Let's see if I can do this with easily here. Okay, good. All right, so all of you should be familiar with what Google Play is and what you can do with it, but the backend side of it may not be so well known. So first, we'll start off with talking about Google's content policies, including policy information and how Google handles violations of those policies, and then go over some great resources that developers and users should know and be aware of, and go over some common questions about actually using the Play Store as a developer side. So, Google Play Apps Overview. So, account activations. Right. The last statistic taken, there is over 1 billion Android devices activated so far. And their active users are getting apps and games, music, other content through the Play Store. So it is huge for the Android world. So how big is the Play Store for apps and games? There's over 1 million apps and 50 billion downloads on the Play Store to date. So here's the thing. Safety, it's a big part of the Play Store, and most of this the users aren't even aware of. So why is play safety critical? To protect users and devs from having violating apps in the store, resulting in a bad user experience, bad development reputation, and in the end, project takedowns. The Google wants Android users to feel safe and comfortable with using apps and games that they've downloaded from the Play Store, and that they're trustworthy and reliable. They want the Android user base to know that the apps they download from the Play Store are just that. On the user side, it shows users the Play Store, when you open it, download an app, it'll show a list of permissions requested for each application, allowing the user to make informed decisions as to whether or not they should or want to download that app. Like, say you're downloading a picture gallery. Why would a picture gallery need access to your contacts? That seems kind of fishy, so you probably wouldn't want to install that exact app. And then on the dev side, it makes sure that every user feels safe and comfortable with downloaded apps. Developers need to take their part also to comply with the Google Play content policies. To make the Google Play Store, to make it safe and good quality and consistent environment to users, violated apps will be potentially removed automatically. And if a developer has repeat offenses for policies, it will result in their developer account being terminated. And that is without warning. you get certain like 3 strikes, and then they'll just disable your developer account, so you cannot publish or update apps unless you get approved again by the through the Google's dispute forms. So Play sources and how the Google Play handles policy violations. So has anyone here heard of the Google Play Policy Center?
No.
The Policy Center was launched a few months ago. It was built basically because developers were complaining that they didn't really understand why apps were taken down, and they believed or that it was a false positive. It was wrongly removed from the Play Store. They didn't know the procedures on how to dispute that, or resources to go and find reasons, the exact reasons why their app may have been taken down. So they made the Policy Center, and it's just play.google.com/policy. And it lists a centralized list of policy resources with visual examples and guidelines. So it's a great resource for you to learn about the developer terms and policies, guidelines and practices, and reporting and enforcement. So to kind of go into each one of these, let that go past first. All right. So every time you're about to publish an app to the Play Store, it's advised to go to the latest content policies and the developer distribution agreement that's listed on that site to make sure that your app complies with all of the rules there to avoid your app being taken down and potential account suspension. And once you've verified that your app complies to those rules, then go ahead and publish. So, guidelines and practices. Let's go over some common violations on the Play Store. The first one includes spam and keyword spam and fake ratings. There's recent updates on the discipline policies that must not contain misleading or false title, icon, description, category, or screenshots of the apps. And let's see. The second is intellectual property violations such as copyright and trademark infringements. Just don't pretend to be someone you're not. That's should be fairly straightforward. And Google has updated the ads and system interface policy. So I'm sure everyone has seen an app that violates this one at some point. And what that is, it's important for the developer to disclose to the user how the app will make use of ads if it does have ads. For example, having ads shown on the system notification bar, it's generally a bad idea, and it goes against this new policy. And then if your app contains in-app purchases, your description must clearly notify the users that the payment is required to access those, and general price range for an in-app purchase. So they would range between 99 cents and $10 or whatever. Anything with sex and nudity is not allowed on the Play Store. And you cannot share personal and confidential information without the user consent. And what falls under that is credit card numbers, government identification numbers, driver license, and drivers and other license numbers, non-public contacts, or any other information that's not publicly accessible. And they don't allow spyware or phishing apps and any other types of violating apps. And these are actually scanned server side for violations. So if they find an app that does things like key logging or tries to access things that it's not supposed to, they will flag it and take the app down automatically. And then they have a content rating system, and the developer should select the appropriate ratings for their applications. There's 4 levels for this. There's everyone, low maturity, medium, and high maturity. If you don't know which one your app will fall under, you can see the general guidelines to kind of get an idea where it will fall. Sorry. Let's catch back up here. Kind of fell behind on those. All right. And then the reporting and enforcement. This, in order to protect both the developers and the users, if you do notice a app that violates any kind of guidelines or you suspect to violate anything, then the reporting and enforcement will actually have a place for you to actually submit or flag the app. And then Google will actually look into it, and they'll contact the developer. They'll put a temporary block on the app. So while it's flagged, no one can download the app or download updates to it. So it looks like it's taken down, but this will give the developer the ability to dispute the claim. And if it does violate, it allows them to fix it before they upload the new version and get it back into the Play Store. So the reporting enforcements, this one is for both users and developers. So through here, you can do app verification and appeals. You can report inappropriate apps, report problematic content or copyright trademark violation. And what some basic ideas that fall under it is trademark copyright infringement, malicious or inappropriate apps, inappropriate or problematic music within the app, and any comments or reviews for the application itself you can flag. And if the developer replies with something that is not appropriate, you can even flag those. So if someone posts on there that you broke it after this update, fix it, and the developer basically comes back and says, screw you, you can report the developer for putting that in there. So some developer support resources. There's 4 great resources for different situations. So for the developer, you can go to play.google.com/developer help, and this will give you basic troubleshooting area and the ability to contact someone there at Google either by phone, instant message, or via email. So if you can't find the answer to your question there, then you can contact someone. If you have a question about development and design, you can go to developer.android.com or abbreviated d.android.com. If you have a question or problem related to something money transaction wise, either a in-app purchase or buying an app that it double or triple charged you, or on the developer side, if you're not getting the money from the transactions, you go to wallet.com/merchant, and that's the help place for that.
Is that where the revenue of your app goes into wallet?
Yeah. So when you put up an app that's a paid app or it has in-app purchases, all that runs through Google Wallet. So you would set up a merchant account, which is free to do, and then the money goes into that account. And then finally, as the user, you can get support through support.google.com/Google Play. And so this is a screenshot from the developer dashboard. So once you actually upload an application to the Play Store, you'll have access to this where you can do all sorts of things like set up beta versions of your applications, do staged rollouts. You can see install statistics. You can see where your app's getting installed. So if your app is only does English, but you have people in some other country or other countries downloading your application, you'll be able to see that and know that you need to get your app translated so it'd be in their native language, things like that. But also in the upper right-hand corner, you can click the question mark. It'll bring this down, which will give you a search box so you can search for keywords. They'll give you suggested articles and also the ability to email, chat with someone there to get help. And so some frequently asked questions. So question 1, why did I only get a warning / suspension when so many other apps have the same behavior? Well, the answer for that one would be Google Play doesn't pre-screen applications. So if you see any inappropriate contents, you can report it to Google and they'll investigate it and take proper actions as soon as possible. Question 2, what should I do if I receive a warning from Google Play? The answer to that is please modify the app, bring it into compliance with the Google Play content policy within the time frame mentioned in the email. Otherwise, you risk your app being removed from the Play Store if it's not corrected, and any repeated violations will result in your account getting banned. What should I do if I disagree with the removal of my app? If you feel that your app doesn't violate the policy, then you can fill out the appeals form in the Help Center. And then what should I do if I want to transfer my apps between developer accounts? If the app has in-app purchases, then the new default currency, if it's switching currencies, needs to be defined within the app and the console before you start the transfer process. And if your app has a subscription service, right now they are unable to transfer those. So you'd have to, if you have any of those, you'd have to cancel the subscriptions, then do the transfer, and then the users will have to set the subscriptions up again. And the information you'll need if you're doing that is the original account and the target account you're wanting to transfer. And you'll need the merchant ID numbers. And there's two versions of it. There's a very long string, and then there's the short one that starts with O.G. Once you have those informations, then you're ready to submit the transfer request. And before we get into this question, who knows about the on-phone app verification built in Android 4.2 and higher? So because the Play Store does checks on apps, those are fine, but Android also allows you to install applications outside of the Play Store. So to ensure that those are safe, Google's built in a verification process into the Android operating system. So by telling your phone you want to install third-party apps, that starts that process, and it periodically just scans through apps on your phones, make sure that they're not malicious or in any sort of way. And if it finds one, it will automatically report it back to Google, so actions can be taken against the developer of the application. And it will also automatically uninstall the application from your phone. So that's the on-phone verification, and this question is related to that.
I wonder if it's an app that you develop yourself and you're just playing with it. Does it still do that?
If you did do something malicious, yes. Okay. So if you wrote like a virus that attacks Android and put it on your phone will find it and report it to Google, remove the app from your phone.
Are you notified that it's removed from your phone?
No, it does not notify you. It just disappears.
It's tough to test your virus, doesn't it?
Yeah. But if you did write an application that you require to be installed outside of the Play Store for whatever reason, and phones start marking it and it gets blocked. So some applications can harm your device. If the application is harmful, Google will warn you not to install it, or the install may be blocked completely. For potentially harmful applications, it will notify you that you should uninstall it, but it will also automatically if you don't. So I guess there is some situations where it will, like if you're about to install it and it's a known to be malicious, it will tell you up front not to install it. But if it doesn't already know, then it will just scan it. And then this app verification process, it's enabled when you choose to install third-party apps, but you can check to see if it's set in Android 4.2 and higher by going to Settings, Security, and Verify Apps. And as a developer, if you believe that your app should not have been warned or blocked by the verification process, you can appeal the classification of the app by emailing app-verification-appeals@google.com with the details of your app, telling them what it does, what all it's accessing and trying to do. That way they could figure out why the verification process tripped and blocked it. And they can also make sure that your app really is not doing anything harmful. That way they can update their side if they need to, or continue to block it. So that's a quick rundown on on that. So let's go back into screencasting here so we can walk through this. So this is the Android developers homepage. So it's a fairly simple design. They will always feature the latest version of the operating system here, giving basic bullet points and things. But they break down this for developers into 3 categories. You have the design category, develop category, and distribution category. And within each of these, you can get helpful information. So let's say you're working on theming your application, you're going to want to know the basics of material design. You're going to want to know device and style information. So you can get information for writing or designing applications for phone, tablets, Android Wear devices, so smartwatches, and Google Glass, and Android TV and Auto. And then they have some tutorials and SDKs and things that you can download for help. The design's similar, so they have training. They have basically some walkthrough here, and they're also partnered with Udacity, doing Android development classes. So if you prefer a more structured, you can go that way. They have API guides, reference and documentation, some tools, information for Google services. So if you want to hook up to one of Google public APIs, so pulling in Google Map data or whatever, you can get information there. And then they also have information on putting your app in the Play Store, helping try and get it visible so people will find it, information on monetizing. So if you want to make money off of putting apps in the Play Store, they have some helpful tips on that as well. So if you're starting out, the first thing you're probably going to want to do is you're going to want to get the IDE for it. In the past, what they've been using is Eclipse with a custom plugin. And if you used Eclipse in the past, you know it's slow, it's painful, you don't want to ever touch it again. The end of last year, the Android Studio just hit stable. That's built off of the IntelliJ platform. So much faster, much more efficient. And they took the base of it and then they built their own IDE on top of it. And so that's the Android Studio. So this comes with the IDE. It has a SDK Manager, which you're going to need because the way they do Android versioning is every new release of Android is a new API version. So you need to download that, and it's a simple, it's a jar. So on Windows, it's kind of weird installing it because there's no actual install process. You just unpack the zip, stick it somewhere, and put a shortcut on the desktop, and you're good. But if you've used the Eclipse and the Android development tool plugin, there's a documentation here basically telling the difference, walking you through the difference between the two and getting you started. But when you download that, let's see if I can get this to pull up easily. And I may need to change where I'm showing on here. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. So once you get the studio installed and everything, one of the first things you're going to want to do is you're going to need to download the SDKs for the version of Android that you're going to target or write applications for. So to do that, you'd hit the configure, launch the SDK Manager, and then that will give you this insane long list. Basically, all you're going to need to do is once this is finished fetching information, you just come through here, find the version of Android that you're going to develop against. So say you're going to do Lollipop. Well, that's API version 21. So you're probably going to want the documentation for it. You need the SDK platform, and you can download optional samples on how to interface with the actual API itself. And then these are basically images for their virtualizer. So you can emulate different Android devices. So you can emulate a phone of any make, model, a tablet, any make, model. So you can test your app on multiple devices, all virtually. So you do those through that. And so typically you only really need to install the latest. So if you grab the Android 5, you can do anything from 5 and below. So you can hit Lollipop, you can hit Kit Kat, you can hit Jelly Bean, you can hit Ice Cream Sandwich, you can hit Honeycomb, you can hit Gingerbread, so on and so forth. The only real reason why you need to do the others if you're targeting something different. Like right now, this state, the Android Wear was running 4.4W, which is the Wear version, but that's been updated. They're all running Lollipop now. So I had that, and then the Google Glass development. Google Glass was running 4.4.2, so it was Kit Kat. So install that. Otherwise, that's all you need for those. And then there's some extras. If you're going to be doing a lot of virtualization, you're probably going to want to install the accelerator. What that is that does hardware virtualization instead of software, so the VMs will run faster than they would otherwise. If you're going to be writing an application that's basically a wrapper around a website, you'd want to use the WebDriver, which gives you interface to the lighter weight Android browser built into Kit Kat that's not Chrome. And they have Google Play services and the Google repository that allow you to access different Google APIs through either their public or through the Play Store and things like that. So once you make sure that you have those installed, you're ready to go through and start an app. Now it's kind of interesting. So yeah, we'll leave it in my application. Since it's Java, you need a domain. So something dot and then a TLD, and it'll create the package name based off that because it's Java. So we'll just leave defaults. And then you choose what you're going to target. So if you're going to do phone and tablet, then you go in here and you choose the minimal operating system you actually want to run on. So say you don't care about gingerbread, you just want to target an ice cream sandwich and higher, you would set that there. It's always going to target the very latest operating system or the Google latest Android version that you have the APIs for, but you can set a bare minimum. And then if you wanted it to also work on Android TV and say Google Android Wear, you would set those there as well. And right now, they have very limited options. You had Android L and Lollipop for TV, and for Wear, you had KitKat and Lollipop. And then that dumps you into your layout chooser. But that will save for the actual Android class because they'll walk through all that general. But it just seems a lot of people don't quite get that even though it says that the SDKs come with it, because it says Android SDK tools there, people don't get that you still have to download the actual SDKs. They thought it came with all of them. And if they did that, this would be monstrous. Without the SDKs in it, the download's probably about 300 megs. With all the SDKs I have, which is only a handful of them, it's about 3 gigs worth of data. And if they were to ship every version of Android SDK support, I don't see anyone being able to pull that down ever. So that is about it